Hi team, hi parents, hi students. A very good evening to one and all present here. Myself, Aman Loharka, I'm the director at IQS. And as we begin the session, I would like to first thank each one of you to spare some time to attend this meeting on a Tuesday evening. Uh, Although I would want to have you all present physically at our institute, at our campus, but given the fact that most of our students, or 50% of our students, come from outside Mumbai or even Maharashtra for that matter, we decided to keep it online for this time. But we'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So I would want each one of you to try and interact with me through the chat box. So I'll throughout the session, I'll keep on asking questions. Let's just have an interactive session where you guys can tell me about what your viewpoints on that particular thing is. And towards the end of the session, we'll take up FAQs or the questions that you would have. Now, to set things up or to introduce you to the session that we are about to have, the agenda is to talk about actuarial science. What is actuarial science? What are the scopes in this profession? Will this be affected by AI or not? How to pursue it? Everything around actuarial science. So anything that you want to know about this particular profession, we are going to talk about it in depth. How, what kind of work they do, where can they work, all those things. So without wasting any more time, I think we have pretty much the strength of students who had registered. Let's quickly proceed into the session. Also, before I start, you guys are free to turn on your camera so that in case you want to, you can have one kind of a physical feel of sorts where you can turn on your camera and you can turn on your speaker and we can directly chat as well. Cool. That being said, I'll not waste any more time in introduction. I'll quickly get into the session. To start with, I have a very simple question. What is something that is certain? So other than death, which of course death is something that is certain, but other than death, what is something that you feel is actually certain, which you can say that guaranteed this is definitely going to happen? Anything that you can think of. It can be government bond providing, let's say, 5%, 6% deal or anything. Other than death, can you think of any one thing that is certain? You can put the answers on the chat box. We can have a collection of points and then talk about it. Paying tax, yeah, that is certain. Okay, I'll admit to it. Risk is okay. Risk is a certainty. Yes. Paying tax is also certain. So I'd say if you earn, then paying tax is certain. Yes. So I would want that certainty. Hospital visits, okay. Can you graduate with PCB? We'll pick it up later. But from certainty, hospital visits, paying tax, retirement is certain. Okay, yes. Aging is certain. Aging is certain. Feeling low from time to time is also certain. Growth is certain. Nice. Profit and loss is certain. Great. I think we have a good context. So these are very philosophical and nice answers. I did not expect such answers to come. But to be to open things up objectively, there is absolutely no life that is actually certain. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say we talk about actuarial papers, or let's say we talk about education in itself. We pursue education, we pursue formal professional degree because we want some certainty in life. We want some confidence that we are employable. But did you know you might clear up more than the papers that are required as a fresher, or you might have too many degrees and you would be called something as overqualified, which is you have more qualification that the job needs. So it's a risk that you might actually give more papers and be academically sharper than you really need to. In fact, there was a recent article where it stated that the number of employment towards educated people is higher than those that are not educated. Of course, it's a silly argument and not like to like comparison, but the thought is that even if you clear too many papers, or if you don't end up clearing papers, or you take too many degrees, or you don't take a degree, there's always some level of uncertainty that is there. Making an investment, we all say that FD is the safest form of bet, but there's a risk or there's a uncertainty of whether FDs, which is the safest form, will be able to beat inflation or not. It's a very common thing that many of the students, especially because Shark Tank was just aired, will have. Being in a business, everyone feels that taking up a job is the safest thing to do. But think about it, you're doing a job, and one day, for some reason, the company decides to lay off certain employees. Now, in that case, what would happen is you would be out of the job and you would not have any other skills and you would be at the mercy of someone else. So, while doing a business is, of course, risky, but not doing a business and doing a job is also equally risky. It's not completely foolproof, right? So, are there anyone who can actually know with certainty the thing? Like, can someone actually tell what would happen in future, or is there anyone who knows things with certainty? If you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably know the answer. But can you think of someone who knows things with certainty? That other than God, you can say that whatever he says is, or whatever she says, it's actually going to happen. Take a hit, take a guess. Modi, okay. It's not certain. Actually, maybe. So we'll come to actually. That's what an actuary is for, predicting risks, but even that's not foolproof, correct? So actuary does not know things with certainty. At least we cannot say it with 100% surety. So maybe actuaries. Anyone else? So there are two people I think knows things with certainty. I'll wait for another minute if you want to take a guess. It's a fun thing. Can be any wild guess. And by the way, Modi does not know everything with certainty. God, of course, knows. So Almighty God, other than them, who knows things with certainty? Oh, least of all me. Okay. So the two people who I feel know things with certainty are one, you know them? One is Rohit Mehra from Koi Mil Gaya, and the other one is Doctor Strange from Infinity Wars. I'll tell you why I say these two people know things with certainty. So let's start with Rohit Mehra from Koi Mil Gaya. He, of course, has godlike power where Jadoo has infested him with super brainy mind. And what he does is he goes on computer, he writes a lot of codes, he is genius in mathematics, and he somehow comes up with a model, a computer which can actually predict things in future with certainty, which actually happens. Now, the other person is Doctor Strange, of course, who has been invested godlike powers. And because of that very reason, he's able to. If you remember that scene from Infinity War where the Avengers are on a different galaxy and just being defeated by Thanos, Doctor Strange calculates all the future possibilities that can come. He does a weird head movement and then he tells the Iron Man that there's only one way where Avengers can actually win the war. So these are the two people, of course, fictional, who actually knows things with certainty. And very similarly, if someone has watched Asur as a web series, a very similar concept was taken up where Asur had a weapon of data and mathematics and statistics. And similar to Rohit Mehra or Doctor Strange, they created a model where they were able to predict humans' behavior. That was the weapon of Asur, or that was the weapon of Kal. Now, the person other than these two people who might know things with certainty, of course it's the theme of our presentation today or our gathering today, is actuaries or maybe actuaries. Now, why do I say maybe actuaries, or let's say before that, if I say maybe actuaries, then what is actuaries, or what is actuarial science? So actuaries are nothing but those who've pursued actuarial science and are working as an actuary. So what is actuarial science? Let's take another minute and take a guess. You can write your answers in the chat box. Or if you want, you can always turn on the camera and mic and speak it up. We'll take a minute. Let's think about who are actuaries, what really is an actuary. Risk analysts of sorts. They analyze data, right? What is actuarial science? Let's say that. Prediction of risk using statistics, risk predictors, the art of predicting future payments, data analyst professions where risk is quantified, Who manages financial risk? Yes, almost right. Study of risk. Actual science as a profession is a study of risk. Analyzing events mathematically, correct. So similar to, let's say, Rohit Mehra, we analyze things of the future, prepare for future. We figure out. So again, similar to Rohit Mehra, once we figure out what is happening in future, we try to call our moms and tell that this might happen. But yeah, good, nice takes. What else? Right. Cool. Roughly, I think we have a good sense of what is actuaries. Let me quickly delve into it. So, a very quick answer to this is going to be, so we use, why do we, let's say, know, or why do people think that we predict future, is because we try to predict a person's life or an investment's future, or how financially, what would be the health of a particular company. How do we do that is the reason why I took Dr. Strange and Rohit Mehra. So similar to Rohit Mehra, we use a lot of mathematical and statistical tools to come up with models that we use and try to predict things with some level of confidence. And then there's another element of where, similar to Dr. Strange, we try to figure out all the future possibilities that can come up in future and try to assign the value to each of those possibilities, and then come up with marrying mathematics and these possibilities to reaching to an estimate. Now, this is a very broad answer, but let's say if I were to structure it, or let's say I were to take a context of it, how would I do that is, let's take another example of asking you a question of who, according to you, is the best cricketer or best batsman of all time, whatever of your choice. I'll try to link how actuaries can help you with this. Kohli, yes, IPL का season है, he's playing very well. I think orange cap holder, if I'm not wrong. Kohli is, of course, the crowd favorite. Dhoni, Vivian Richards, Rohit. Rohit, yes, it hurts to see Rohit not a captain of Mumbai Indians if you're from Mumbai. Oh, yes. Don't say Travis Head, because it's only Indians right now in the conversation. We don't want Travis Head. Sachin, of course. Okay. Completely out of context, but yes, football. Kohli. Cool. So the point is, see, every time, like, it's not important who you pick up as an answer, but what is important is what is the basis that you chose to select that particular name. For example, batting average, maybe, yes, Virat Kohli is a simple winner. Number of runs scored overall, currently that record is still held by Sachin, right? Similarly, highest score, Rohit Sharma. Most centuries per inning, again goes to Sachin. So every time, maybe had I had a question of who has helped a team will win maximum number of World Cups, completely different answer. Who has batted against one of the most difficult bowlers with less technology, let's say Vivian Richard, for example. So the idea is, whatever number that you take or whatever name that you come up with, there's always a context that plays behind it. So let's say batting average, then who did they play it against? What are the pitches where the matches were held, right? So every time that someone asks a question, you have to understand what is the reason that the question was asked and what is the basis of answering that question. Now, let's take this as a basis. And if you, I'm sure you guys would have seen the World Cup that we recently played. There was a beautiful score predictor that would come up in every match. Every match, there were some uh, score predictor that was pulled out, and it was fairly accurate. I'd say 10, 15 runs here and there. So, how do we come up with such a run predictor? Like, how do we calculate how much runs are going to be made in certain period of time? We use a very similar thing that we recently did as an exercise. Let's say if I were to, without any context, if I were to calculate the future score, I would simply add up average of all the batsmen and I'll come to a score, right? But that's not how things work. I need to apply context of who am I playing against? What are the weather conditions? What is the pitch conditions? How many wickets have I lost? All those things factor in. What is the current form of each of the players? How much score have they played in the previous match? What is their consistency record? I'll basically pull in a lot of factors to answer this very simple question of how many runs that can be made. with a simple mathematical answer that, let's say, if everyone is scoring 10 runs, then by the end of the innings, I should score maybe 110 runs. But that's not how things work. We need to apply context to each of the numbers that we come up with. And that's where actuaries as a concept comes in. So what actuaries really do is every time that a question pops up of, let's say, what is going to be the financial health of a particular company, instead of me asking you what is going to be the number of, what is going to be the score of a particular match, I ask you how much is X company going to make after 10 years. That's my question. So very similar to how we thought of in a cricket match, we would apply the same principle and we would think of currently who are the competitors in the company, what is the cash flow, what are the assets, how much is the target market, what is the technological advantages, how much is the reserve, regulation, how is the leadership looking. All those things I would factor in. I'll try to figure out what can happen in future, competition wise, employee wise, technology wise, all those things. And then I'll come up with a model which would be very similar to a score predictor. But instead of me working on sports prediction, I would work it out in a financial sense. So to summarize, actuaries are the professionals who manage risks and does the modeling of financial impact of any of future based on the likelihood of the scenario. So again, pulling in the strings from Rohit Mehra and Dr. Strange, what actuaries do is we've tried to figure out what all are the future possibilities of a particular company, majorly in a financial sense, and then try to figure out how to mitigate. So their roles can be majorly summarized as quantifying risk, predicting risk, and minimizing risk. So you've tried to figure out how much is actually the risk, how do I predict that risk by creating actuarial models or by creating models, and then we want to reduce or minimize the risk that comes up. So that is what basically is, in a nutshell, what actuaries is. Now, where do we work? See, we picked up an example of cricket, but it can easily be transferred into financial analysis, right? So people usually think of actuaries as someone who works in insurance or finance domain, but the skill sets are easily uh, diversifiable. We'll talk about why is it that people still think that actuaries just get involved in the financial sector and not in, let's say, sports analytics. But let's, for the start of it, majorly where actuaries work is in the financial domain. The reason being, finance is the biggest industry. In fact, it employs over 50% of the entire workforce if you look at it objectively. If you look at, let's say, finance as a domain or finance as an industry cumulatively, and the stakes are highest in a finance company. So let's say if I were to, let's say I were to take a decision of how much will I be able to, or let's say I were to go from Mumbai to, I want to, let's say, Dubai, and I have an interview call in Dubai, and let's say the interview call is at X time. What I would do is probably I would do a simple risk assessment. I would see how many times have I been late to a particular place, and accordingly I'll take a buffer and then I'll decide my travel. Similarly, in a financial company, there will be such questions where you have to take a decision. But now, instead of you having just your personal interest at stake, basically, instead of you having to answer just yourself, you have stakeholders like shareholders, customers, regulators, all those people who you are answerable to. So every decision that you take will have an amplified effect, as a result of which you need to ensure that whatever decision you take is actually backed by science, is actually where you actually try to use numbers and try to reduce that risk so that you've taken the best effort to take the best possible action, and it's not just based on your gut feeling. That's where actuarial science or actuaries comes in. So again, to summarize, actuaries are one of the first professions that manages risks and, sorry, just a second. Uh, and basically try to figure out the financial impact and likelihood of future scenarios. Now, where do they work broadly? If I were to talk about just the insurance or the conventional domains, it's life insurance, non-life insurance, pensions, enterprise risk management, investment banking, banking itself, data science, health insurance. These are like the broad categories. Then there's of course entrepreneurship, or there is going towards, let's say, sports analytics. So the reason I said why people think there's a stereotype that only actuaries are only employed in finance domain is because, one, there's a very good protection that actuaries have. So to be an actuary, we'll discuss how to become an actuary, but to be an actuary, you need to get a certification or a fellowship and associateship, either of the two, from the institutes that provide that degree, which is a regulated body. So basically, you are protected by a professional membership. As a result, the number of actuaries in the industries are very limited, but the work is ever growing. More and more people are pursuing financial independence. Insurance for all has become a theme where everyone wants to take insurance for the smallest of things to reduce their future risk. All these things, the uh, earlier the size of SMEs were very small. Today the stakes are very high. Everyone wants to take a calculated bet. Valuations, all those things have become very important. As a result, the demand has been ever growing, but the number of actuaries that the country has been able to produce has been limited for a very long time. As a result, what has happened is you get a very good valued job in the common industries like insurance and finance, where you don't have to worry about outside competition and the quality of work is good. So you don't have any motivation to try and venture out to do anything else. That is the reason why people usually end up in the finance domain. We'll talk about a split that we have observed, especially in our placements of where people go. But this is a broad reason why you would see actuaries working in insurance domain or finance domain only. That being said, your skill sets are highly transferable. We'll talk about what kind of skill sets that you learn as well. Just to highlight some key statistics, it's currently ranking, like actuaries rank as the number seventh best profession globally. It's been in the top 10 since ever since that I've been looking at it. Like it's never dropped to less than 10, and currently it's 7 because now there are new professions like, believe it or not, content creation, which actually can be as rewarding. So that's the reason it's dropped from the top 5. But it's been one of the highest paid profession with best work-life balance ever since. The employment opportunity is expected to grow to 24%. In fact, IRDAI chief, that is Debashish Panda, he couple of years back announced that the government is targeting to increase the number of actual students itself from 7,000 to 25,000. The reason is the demand that government is anticipating. For example, recently the age limited health insurance, which was earlier 65, was removed. As a result, new pricing, new reserving, all those things would have to be done separately for a new cohort of people, for which you need actuaries. A new risk is going to evolve. So that's the demand that is projected. Talking of the number of actuaries, currently there are about 515 actuaries in India as per the IAI, or Institute of Actuaries of India. There'll be another 200, 300 non-overlapping actuaries from IFOA, but let's say cumulatively it has to be way less than 1,000 currently. So a huge demand and very less number of actuaries who've completed all the papers and who are fellows. It's not something to fear. I'll also talk about why is it that so less number of actuaries are there, and is it actually difficult, or why is it that not many people are qualifying. Talking of the average salary, it's the average standard salary. So if you are a fellow actuary with 3 years of work experience and all papers cleared, you would expect a very standard something between 25 to 35. It's flat rate. Let's say even if you are less and you've completed all the papers, you attained fellowship, you'll immediately be at 25 to 35 based on the company. Indian company usually pay less, which is at 25. If you are at, let's say, a multinational company with foreign work, they'll probably pay you higher than 25. That's why the range is till 35. But it's a very standard pay. Like it's any, if you know any actuaries, you just ask them, and this is the response that 95% of them will give you. So this is about the basic package, and then of course once you have experience, it keeps on growing. But yeah, these are the major numbers to look at. Now let's take another case study of why we are talking about this. Why is there so much curiosity, and why are people all of a sudden talking about actuaries? So I'm sure everyone knows Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla. So Tesla is not known for beautiful or electric cars. Tesla made its name because of autonomous driving. Now, when Tesla's autonomous driving cars became mainstream, he came out and said a statement that he has great respect for actual profession and he wants revolutionary actuaries in the profession or in Tesla. An automobile company hiring actuaries, how does it make sense? In fact, Amazon has a lot of actuaries as well, just FYI. So the reason why Tesla or Elon Musk wants to hire actuaries is because the way that conventionally car insurance has been priced is going to change because of it. So let's take as an example. I think I've already mentioned the points here, but if you look at how do you decide the premium of a car or car insurance, you'd see the basic probabilities are, let's say, probability of how much crash can occur in a particular location. Believe it or not, age and gender becomes a reason or criteria for premium, insurance premium. The driving history, of course, if you don't claim, you get no claim bonus. In fact, marital status, it's expected that people who are married are expected to have a bit more sensible driving status than those who are single. There's capacity of vehicle, age of vehicle. In fact, you would be surprised, even color of the vehicle plays a very important role. There was a survey published that red colored cars are expected or more prone to accidents than any other car, and white is the one which has less number of accidents. Now in India, because of the competitive spirit, the factors you might not see as frequently, but wherever you see a mature insurance market, like let's say US or the UK, you will see all these factors and 10 times more factors that gets accounted for calculating your premium. Now the conflict is the premium calculation should be different for the driverless cars than the conventional car, because things like age, for example, will completely change because autonomous driving is based on understanding driving patterns and learning more and more from the data. So as the car ages, its driving is only going to improve. So the premium should reduce. Accordingly, things like location should not matter. Things like age of the car should not matter, and things like capacity of the car should also not matter. Maybe cost of the car can, but driving history should not matter. So because of these things, Tesla decided to start its own insurance company where they started pricing and clubbing their cars with Tesla insurance. For this, they needed actuaries to create the entire new risk, to understand how to price for this risk and how to mitigate whatever possibilities that can come up, like who to blame when an accident occurs. Is it the machine or a human? So all those things, like behind all these questions are actuaries who try to figure out what exactly is needed and what should be the basis of any financial transaction. So that's kind of a very brief understanding of why actuaries are there in Tesla. Now, if we are clear on what is actuaries, what do they typically do in a very nutshell, we'll proceed ahead. Any question of what is actuary or what kind of work they do up till now? How they do it is a separate question. We can talk about actuarial models separately towards the end. But any questions on what is actuaries, what do they do? Like, I hope you've gotten a good sense. If so, then a thumbs up or yeah, perfect. So yeah, great. Cool. So I think I've kind of gotten a sense that you have an understanding of what kind of work actuaries do. Of course, it's a very brief thing that I've tried to tell. There are a lot more things that goes behind it, but very briefly, this is the kind of work that you would be expected to do if you end up joining the profession of actuaries. Now, if this has been something that interests you, predicting future, playing with numbers, taking control of the financial transaction, then we delve into what do you really need to study to become an actuary. So there are 4 pillars to becoming an actuary. You need to study mathematics, of course. You have statistics, you have business, and you have economics. Now, mathematics is very obvious. We said we want to have a calculation like Rohit Mehra's, which is maths. Statistics is understanding patterns. Statistics is not just standard deviation. It is understanding patterns behind the data, which helps you to predict what could happen in future. Then there's economic and business skills. The reason is you want to take any business decision because you are in a particular economic environment. So business means, yeah, business as in general business knowledge. So for example, I want to take a decision of whether I should reduce the um premium that I charge to an insurance company, or let's say I want to take a decision of how much bonus do I have to pay as an investment company on my recent investment return that I have generated. So let's say I'm a trust. I want to discuss how much bonus I want to give to my uh, product holders. You need to understand the business sense of competition, what competition is doing, how much expenses you are earning, what is your future expectation of your earnings, how is the regulations going to change or impact your business, how much buffer do you need. All those things are business decisions that you need to make. When I say economics, you also need to make an economic sense, because whatever decision you take it in an economy. For example, let's say currently it is expected, if you're following the news, it is highly expected that the Fed rate or the US interest rates are going to come down, because it's been on a high for a very long time. That's the reason why a lot of stock market has been bullish, because people feel that when the US finally decides to reduce their interest rates, economy will prosper and hence more business will be generated. So in that case, as an investment, actually, what you'll have to decide is, let's say if I'm expecting that the interest rates are about to go down, then if I'm investing in bonds, should I buy long-term bonds and freeze the current investment interest rates that are available to me? Should I invest in equity now, or should I wait for the interest rates to cut? Should I invest in gold? All those are questions that will be based on just a very simple factor of whether the interest rates would be cut. It can also have geopolitical repercussions. Let's say uh, the current situation with Iran getting involved in Israel or Hamas fight, which happened, there was a very big geopolitical tension of, if Iran actually decides to enter the war, how would the oil prices affect the world? Oil is a very important commodity which directly affects the inflation. Inflation again controls your interest rates. So all those things are very interconnected. So let's say if I am a business owner and I want to take a decision of exporting a cargo from place A to place B, let's say from India to the Europe. Current original route was going to the Red Sea, but because of the Houthi rebels, or basically because of Iran conflict, people have to take a longer route. In that case, you'll have to pay more for insurance. You'll have to pay more because of the time value that will be increased. So all those are business decisions that you take in an economic environment. Base is an economic environment. And those decisions, you use mathematics and statistics to help you take those decisions. So when I say you have to study mathematics, statistics, economics, and business, it's not like you are doing a PhD in either of it. But what you are doing is you are doing a PhD of understanding risk. So you use mathematics and statistics, or you learn statistics and mathematics to the level which is needed for you to interpret the data available to you and to make a scientific conclusion, and hence take a business decision in an economic environment. So I hope that what kind of study you are expected to do is clear. Thumbs up if you understood the kind of studies that we are expected to do. Yeah. Good. Now, an immediate question that would come up, Abbas, I'll just cover this one and then I'll take your question. Or maybe if we can take the entire question in the FAQ round, that would help to keep the flow. So the next question that naturally comes is it a science profession or a commerce profession? And it's a very valid question. See, very interestingly, that's one of the reasons why people have not really explored, or the profession, which is a beautiful profession, has not really exploded yet. People from commerce feel that it is a science profession because it involves mathematics, statistics, and the name itself has science. People from science background feel that it involves business and economics and they want to stay away from it. But the reality is, it's a combination of the two. So it's like doing an IIT plus an IIM. You learn the technical skills of mathematics and statistics. At the same time, you learn the business skills that you learn from, let's say, an IIM. What it gives you is an overall well-rounded curriculum, which can basically put you in a situation where you're able to leverage best of both worlds. So statistically speaking, 40% of actuaries come from science background, 60% still comes from commerce background. Now, when I say commerce, of those 60, easily 95% of them would have taken mathematics. So those who have mathematics, it can be applied or general mathematics, you just need to be able to understand how numbers add up, how percentages work, how basic derivatives work. If that is something that you know, then the profession teaches the required level of mathematics later on. But that is the level of mathematics that you need. Trigonometry is not at all required. So from mathematics perspective, or from stream perspective, commerce and science both are applicable. Even art students, we have every year we have about 2 to 3% of students who does not have maths in their 11th and 12th, but they take a crash course just to learn the basics, and then they end up in the profession. So there's no right answer of who the profession is for. In fact, it is for both of them. It's a professional study. It's not a college study. Like it's not a particular stream that can choose. Anyone can get into it. Now, the other question that might come up is, in that case, who benefits more? Like, is it the science ones who would benefit more, or the commerce one who would benefit more? And the answer to it is both have their own advantages. Naturally, those who come from science background have a slightly better mathematics statistics because of physics and other subjects. As a result, they're able to deal with the maths required level quite easily. On the other hand, economics and business, or those who are coming from the commerce background, economics and business knowledge helps them to cope up with the business element of the entire program. And if they have a little bit of mathematics, they can build up on that. So let's say accounts related subjects, understanding balance sheet of a particular company to take decisions, those economics, those would be good at the level of commerce, but the level of mathematics and statistics required will be good in a science student. So it's more about being determined rather than where you come from. Now, the next question, which we kind of discussed, is where do actuaries really work? So this is a brief background of some of the employers that we have. We have how, like, it's not even half of the employers that we have mentioned. Like, we have all the big fours, risk consulting, advisory companies, banks. You have, of course, the insurance come up, investment. That 13% of actuaries go into non-life domain, 30% go into life domain, 16% go into risk advisory. It is banking role of sorts. 11% goes into EB. EB is more of pensions. Financial modeling side, 13% students have gone into financial modeling. About 3% of our students ended up in the wealth management domain. 3% as business analysts or business consultants. There has been a good demand of fintechs and insurtech in this field now. So we've seen students going there. Quant analyst as a profession has grown up like anything. We'll briefly touch upon quant as well later on. So quant side, a lot of people are going if you're interested towards investment, and that comes up as a beautiful field. Now, one thing that is not reflected here is that about 5 to 7% of our students actually end up as entrepreneurs. There's one who's currently working with a legal startup or legal tech where they're trying to automate legal documentations and compliance work for companies. There's one who's gone into transportational business where he's trying to make a platform for commercial vehicle, very similar to, let's say, Car Dekho, but for commercial vehicles. There are many such examples. But the reason that they've been able to venture out into business, and why we say that it is also a part of the grooming here at IAQS is, or here because of actuaries, is because as a profession, you first learn how to deal with numbers, you learn how to take scientific objective decisions. And at the same time, what you're also doing is you're understanding economic and business sense. So what it does is it opens up your mind beautifully to take or analyze risks better. Now, one more addition to it is very similar to, let's say, why an IIM alum is valued is because of the tag of IIM. Similarly, if you're an actuary, people feel that you are very smart, you have very strong hold on your numbers, and hence they would give you a try. So for people who come from actual background, setting up meetings or getting a foot in the door becomes easy. That's another reason why a lot of people end up in entrepreneurship. But The reason that, as I discussed earlier, people still stereotypically feel that actuaries would end up in insurance or finance domain is because the demand is very high, and unless you are highly driven, you would get comfortable of the salary that you get and the kind of work that you get. But if you are someone who is more driven than just a regular job, you might end up in actuarial and you'll have a great profession. In fact, I know many students from my batch who, after pursuing actual science, ended up in ISBs, IMs, and now they are going towards the business end. So whichever field you want to get into, let's say we discussed sports analytics, you can go into policy making, you can work with the governments, you can actually go into any domain that you want, as long as you understand that what you've acquired is a skill. A degree can maybe restrict you to where you can apply, but a skill you can apply anywhere. The only reason we don't apply is because you already are getting a decent quality of life, pay, and job at a reputed company without doing that much effort. So people become complacent. But yeah, that's the reason why the place where you work looks like it is right now. Now, the next question that comes is, if you find that the profession is interesting, the industries that you're looking at is interesting, how do you really pursue actuarial science? So there are two routes to it. First is the direct route, where you do take up any graduation degree, you enroll with any college. Along with your college, you give direct papers with the institute. So there are two institutes, IFOA or IA, where you can give the papers from. IA is India, IFOA is UK. Both of them have absolutely the same validity. So the first route is you directly give papers, you do graduation, and you keep on giving papers independently, clear all the papers, or you, by the end of the graduation, you'll complete your, let's say, 6-7 papers, or not 6-7, 4-5 papers in the new curriculum, 6-7 in the old curriculum. So 4-5 papers you complete, you start working, and along with the job, you give rest of the papers. That's the first route. The second route is through a degree. So you go to an accredited institute where in the college itself, you are taught the same papers, and instead of you giving papers separately, you get exemption for those papers. What it means is you can write the college exams. If you perform well in that college exams, then automatically you get an exemption. It's like, let's say, if I were to compare it with CA, you go to a college which offers IPCC curriculum, and if you perform well in the college, you don't have to give IPCC separately. It's a very broad analogy to make. Now let's talk about route one. Why? So it seems very straightforward, but there are certain issues that needs to be highlighted in route one. So the first one is exam clashes. In fact, yesterday I was talking to someone who said that she could not give her paper because her exams were clashing with her college exams, and she was in the final year. So leaving a college exam in a final year does not look good on your degree, especially like your additional would come, it'll take a lot of time. So it's bad for you. So the first problem that comes is your college exams are going to definitely clash with your actual exam because the diets are almost the same, the period of which exam are conducted. The second issue is you'll just be focusing on clearing papers, anyhow getting your papers cleared without ensuring that your conceptual clarity is good or not. The third is no application. Because you're completely focused on just clearing papers, you can easily practice a lot of papers. You'll kind of get a sense of the pattern and then you can clear it. But you did not apply those applications. There's a limited networking. Of course, it's a very niche profession that we are dealing with. So naturally, there'll be very less number of people who are pursuing actuaries. As you grow into the profession, as you do more research, you'll realize that it would require a lot of support system. It would require a lot of your what we say peer group to push you through the exams. The other problem is employability opportunities. See, every time, let's say, even if you go to the best of the college, let's say if you go to SRCC, a college, how they place is based on the strength that they have. So let's say they want to bring in all the big folks. They might come, but for a role that is generically applied to all. They won't come for, any company would not come if the college says that I just have 5 students who are pursuing actuaries. So they would naturally not come to such an institute because they would not get the talent that is required. It's not worth their effort. And then there's, of course, lack of exposure to the industry realities, like what's actually happening in the industry. You are completely cut off because you're just independently giving papers. So until you actually start working, you would not know what's happening. So that's some of the issues that are there in the first route. So the solution is, of course, the degree route. And how the degree route helps is, one, It is at a single focus point. So you're not doing 10 things at a time. You're just pursuing one particular degree. That degree in itself can propel you to get the exemptions that you need. So you don't have to separately give those papers. The second is placing the students in the right domain. For example, here, the reason we have so many institutes coming for actual placement is, or so many companies for actual placement, is because we have over 100 students, or let's say if I include internship along with it, of around 200 students from which a company can select. So naturally, companies are more interested to come. You get to expand your industry network with industry experts through your faculties, for example, and have a very deep connect of your peer group, which would eventually help you. What would happen is, let's say 5 years down the line, you would not get a job basis your CV. You would get a job basis who you know in the industry. That's where network plays an important role. To give you another context of how networking helps, 70% of the faculties, for example, here come from the industry. Now, what happens is, oftentimes, when the faculty, these are, by the way, very good faculties. For example, we've had PwC's director taking one of the lectures. Someone who you won't be able to find an appointment for will sit with you for 60 hours. You have those 60 hours to make an impression on him. Now, that impression can last long, and that will kind of give you opportunity to whichever company you want, because you'll be able to use his network. The other way that such a degree helps is because a degree is a comprehensive degree. It's not a specific paper. As a result, you learn a lot of software or new age skills like Python, R, VBA, SQL as a part of a curriculum. Irrespective of whatever you do, guys, it's very, very, very important that you know these basic softwares, because the way that AI is coming into our lives, we will have to have a very good hold of all these softwares. Currently, the level of R is very low at the paper level, but it would eventually increase. So you would be asked to learn a particular software with a particular degree, but it is still going to be limited. Like Excel and R are majorly the software that I use. But as you go into the profession, you'll realize Python, VBA, SQL, all are equally important, and you need to learn these skills. The other way that a degree route or solution to solve the route to helps is because of the international opportunity. Like, the college has more negotiation power when they go to an institute and a company or a foreign university. As a result, international opportunities, especially for masters, open up very beautifully. And then there's, of course, exemption. So instead of you studying for two things simultaneously, so दो पैर पे एक साथ नाव रखने से अच्छा, you focus on one thing and you focus, like, you clear those things better. So those are some of the straightforward benefits that you get in the route. Now, the gap we talked, the solution to we talked about. So what we as IAQS do, or the reason for kind of introducing you to this, is basically in helping you understand how we are bridging the gap between education and career, or how we are bridging the gap between the first and the second route. A quick introduction: IAQS is an education institute that was established in 2018. We operate as a department. We are a department of Patkavade College, which is a University of Mumbai college, 50-year-old college. Basically, we run the program of MSc in Actuarial Science and BSc in Actuarial Science and Quant Finance for this college. So legally or academically, you get a degree from University of Mumbai, and on corporate fund, you will see IEQS everywhere, because that's how the system is. So that's the legal basic structure. Currently, because I'm anticipating that major crowd would be of 12th pass out, I am going to pick up BSc in Actuarial Science and Quant Finance as a program. I'll just quickly explain you about the route to and how we have tried to put in all those points in our program. So we offer a program called BSc in Actuarial Science and Quantitative Finance. It's a 3-year program, and there's a 1-year optional that you have. So under the NEP, if you want, you can go for a 4-year program, which gives you 16 credits, which helps you to move abroad more easily. It's a full-time program. You have to come to the campus, which is located currently in Andheri and Goregaon. So classes happen in Andheri, but exams happen at Goregaon. The degree comes from Patkar, the University of Mumbai, and it's a globally recognized institute, currently having 3 international types and, of course, the IFOA exemptions. So before going forward with that, I'll quickly tell you about how our solution is aligned with our syllabus. Everything aside, what's the most important thing for you as a student is understanding whether the syllabus that you are going to get offered is actually going to add value or not. So to address the issues that I talked about, what we've done is we've split the entire 6 papers that we teach into 6 semesters. It's not like you are going to learn one semester, one paper, but in each of the semester, there'll be 2 to 3 papers, portion of 2 to 3 papers that are there. For example, in the first year, you are taught a bit of CM1, you're taught a bit of CS1, and you're taught half portion of CB1. So business finance is CB1, financial mathematics is CM1, and PS is CS1. So you, instead of you learning one subject thoroughly, we teach one topic thoroughly. So each semester has about 6 to 7 subjects. It keeps on varying as per the NEP, but the exemption subject remains the same. So every semester, you pick up the subjects based on where you are in your career. For example, when you are starting up the journey, you would probably be fresh with mathematics and statistics and accounts and basic economics. So in the first 2 years, we teach about those topics. We build your foundation on that. Then, and this would have overlap of multiple subjects. Then in the second year, when you come, once you have been groomed enough on how actuaries as a profession work, how quant finance or finance as a profession works, we start introducing specific topics like SRM, that is statistical risk management, which is a part of CS1 and CS2, PTSA, which is a part of CM2. So all those things start coming in the second year onwards, where you start going deeper and deeper into the concepts. But instead of again picking up, let's say, instead of having semester 1 CM1, semester 2 CM2, we split the entire thing topic wise, so you can focus on a subject. And instead of, let's say, focusing on a paper where you have to, of the 100, you have to probably get tested on 60-70%, you are taught 30-30-30%, and you are asked that 30%, so that you actually know whether what you're applying is happening properly or not. So that's how, in general, each of the semester is divided. I'll quickly run through it. So semester 1 would include, every semester would include about 3 subjects which are exemption related, which gives you direct exemption. There are 3 subjects that are related to the softer skills development or the technical skills development that might not be a part of exemption, but which is highly needed for your internships and placements. So in semester 1, for example, we have basics of Excel. In semester 2, you have basics of R. In semester 3, you have application of Python. In semester 4, you delve further into R. So these are the common software skills that you are taught. Along with that, you're also going to be taught some soft skills, which would include LinkedIn, how to create your LinkedIn profile, how to create CV, and all these things, like project work. All those things will ensure that you continuously improve on your communication. You're able to communicate your technical ideas to a non-technical audience. Everything happens to project. So we kind of try to ensure that along with your exemption, you are learning the employment skills, and you're learning the soft skills that are needed, so that irrespective of whether you pursue actual career or not, let's say you end up as a sports analyst or you end up in entrepreneurship, you at least know how to apply each of those concepts. That's been the idea of how we've designed the entire curriculum, including soft skills, technical skills, and of course the exemption. The first 2 years are more general. It's more about, let's say, similar to MBA in finance and some IIT types degree. After the 2 years, you're asked to do an internship. The idea is once you start doing internship, in the 2 years that you've learned, now you can start applying those concepts in the real world. By the way, it is all paid internship. So it's not like we offer 100% guaranteed internship, but 70 to 80% of students actually get intern. So somewhere towards the end of the third semester, we start having recruitment drive where companies come in, have the internship drives, and then basis how they like the candidate, they offer the internship. Usually the mandatory part is just 2 months, but students actually end up interning for 6 to 7 months. The average stipend is somewhere around 26,000. The mode or the maximum number of packages somewhere lies around 30 to 35, highest being 50 and lowest being somewhere around 10 to 15. But average being 26, that's the standard internship pay that IEQ student usually get. After the internship, you are asked to choose in the third year, that is semester 5 and semester 6, to choose between actuarial science and quant finance. So something that you might actually appreciate is, let's say you are thinking of actuarial science, but you're not totally sure of whether you want to be an actuary or not, but you're sure that you want to be in the finance domain. So what we've seen over the time is, when you start pursuing actuarial science, if you don't, so there are two things that can happen. One, you don't like actuarial science, or actuaries does not like you, as in you don't enjoy the subjects there are, or you're not able to clear the papers. As a result, instead of you getting sunk into sunk cost fallacy, or basically getting too deep into the profession and then working 4 5 years and then deciding you don't want to be in the profession, we ask you after the second year, after you have gotten exposure of what kind of studies are needed, internship exposure, faculty exposure, industry connect exposure, to take an informed decision of whether to go for quantitative finance, which involves fields like CFA, FRM, or let's say investment banking, private equity, all those things, algorithm trading, all those things as a part of quantitative finance, where paper requirement is not as stringent. Hence, it's a little comparatively tiny bit easier. I'm not saying easy in the sense that it's not difficult, but it does not have the paper requirement of clearing 13 papers. If you feel that, yes, I really want to go with actual science, then you end up with choosing actual science as your elective. So in the third year, you make a choice between quantitative finance and actual science. That's why the degree name is BSc in actual science and quant finance. So that's how the profession or the curriculum has been developed. Now, okay, I think we should entertain some questions here because it's a little too heavy, this slide. So we already have Hiranshi raising her hand. Yeah, yes, Hiranshi, you can turn on your mic and speak up, or you can write here, or
So
some
during
sir.
my
Yeah.
BSc,
Yes.
how many papers?
Sorry.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yeah. Can you?
Yes, sir. During my BSc, how many papers can I attempt? Like the course will be complete, so I can attempt those many
Okay,
papers.
so in the span of 3 years, we will be covering 9 actuarial papers per se. Of those 9 actuarial papers, you'll get exemption for 6 papers. So if you perform well, you get exemption for 6 papers. You additionally have 3 more papers, which does not have currently exemption route, but you can still apply. So students have actually applied, like gotten exemption for 6 and given a couple more papers. So by the end of the program, they end up with 9 or 10 papers cumulatively. So you're taught 9 papers.
Means
You
the
can give
3 year
any paper.
program.
You can give papers outside of what we teach as well. But we cover 9 papers in 3 years. Is that clear?
Acha, so like in 3 years, we can complete the course of 9 years, and the rest 4 papers we can do it further.
Correct, correct, correct. So the rest of the papers you have to do along with your job. You won't be able to do it before that.
And
Also,
so,
we'll
what
try
is
to
the
just
minimum number
answer
of
the questions
papers?
related to the syllabus. We'll have a complete session on FAQs. I've received more than 40 50 questions of what you guys really want to ask around this webinar. So I've tried to collate some of it, and then we'll open up general FAQs. But from syllabus perspective, any doubts like what exactly is happening in the syllabus? Why do we have softwares? Why do we need soft skills training? How is exemption working, or what is the split? Any particular doubt there? Samir, do you have a question?
Yes,
Yeah,
Aman.
go ahead.
Uh, I'd also put it actually all these the 6 semesters which you have shown. You mentioned a point regarding picking up your subjects. I think somewhere I missed out something. Could you please go over that again?
Okay, so after the second year, you are asked to choose between actuarial science and quant finance in BSc program. The reason is, there's a chance that you might or might not want to be in actual. Like, how much have you seen, right? So in the 2 years, we give you an exposure of what kind of skills is needed in each of these industry. So at the end of the third year, somewhere here, if you see, you have elective A, elective B. So you can choose between actuarial science and quantitative finance. If you want to go towards a route like CFA, like investment banking, private equity, quantitative finance, algorithm trading, then you can choose quantitative finance as a field. If you want to stay in the actuarial domain, then you can choose elective A. Is that clear?
So for semesters 1 to 4, the sequence what you showed, that will be followed in total. It will not be like any
Correct.
selection in that.
Correct. Semester 1 to 4 is standard for everyone.
Wonderful.
Semester 5, 6, there's an option because in 2 years you'll get a decent idea of where you want to go. So that's the idea.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's kind of you.
Cool. Yes, Daksh, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, is it better to do the BSc actual degree than a specific subject like stats or maths?
I think we can have this question separately as a part of the FAQ because I would want to address just the syllabus related question. But since you already put up, how I will put it up is one, when you do a BSc in statistics or maths, you're not learning how to apply that in an insurance field or a finance field. What you are learning is basic mathematics and statistics. So if your intention is to probably do some research work, you want to do a PhD later on, you want to basically explore the calculations and the core concepts of mathematics statistics, that's when that degree helps. Otherwise it does not really help. Like, you can ask this to anyone, like, the purpose of doing a BSc in stats maths is if you want to use it later on, like towards research. Otherwise the quality, like from actual perspective, the level of maths and stats that is required is not as complex per se. It is complex, but it's not as in depth, so to say. I hope
All right, sir.
that kind
Thank
of
you.
addresses the question. Yes, Ami.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so in first 4 semesters, like when you there is no option of selecting between actuaries and quant, like how many papers can you clear of actuaries?
So you will get a clarity of 4 paper of actuaries. So by the end of second semester, you'll know uh, whether you've got an exemption for 4 papers or not. The rest 2 papers gets covered in semester 5 and semester 6. Although there's a good split of each of the papers here and there, but
Okay.
how it works is you get a rough idea, like 90% whether you are there or not. Then 10% you can cover later on that way. So you'll get a fair idea once you start. So it is a complex process, I know, but we take a complete induction training where we explain exactly how exemptions would work, what is the weightage of each of the subjects. At an aggregate, you need to score at a certain level to get the exemptions. But to answer a very broad question, by the end of the fourth semester, you'll know whether you've cleared or got an exemption for 4 subjects or not. That would help you to make a decision.
And how many students, like in percentage wise, get the exemption? Like, what is the percentage cutoff?
So the percentage cutoff of getting exemption is not number of student base, but somewhere around 60 to 65. So I'll emphasize on this. I asked this question of why do you really need an exemption when you can give papers separately to the IFOA president, Kalpana Shah, when she'd come to IAQS. And her response was that exemption is not a mechanism to clear papers if you're thinking so. The quality of or the level of difficulty is pretty much the same. But how it helps is because instead of you focusing just on papers, now you can focus on papers and 10 different things like internship, like cultural committee participation, like networking, like meeting new people or industry specifics, trying different skills. That gives you holistic overall development. And paper comes naturally just as a part of your curriculum itself. So you are able to apply all of the concepts individually better. You have a better conceptual clarity. There's a concept in actuaries called paper actuary, who just clear papers. So you'll find people who've cleared all 13 papers but does not have a work experience.
Okay.
Those are called paper actuaries. So clearing a paper is very different aspect of everything. It's going to be there irrespective. What you should look at is how overall your career gets developed.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can tell you how it becomes easy to clear papers through exemption, but I don't want to do that. Like, your thought should not be choosing an exemption institute or a degree route because it is easier to clear paper. That's why I did not mention that it is an easier way to clear papers in the presentation that we had.
I feel it's all the more difficult because you are catering to so many subjects at one go.
So you, at a quantum level, it's still the same. So let's say instead of you preparing for one paper 100%, you're preparing for 3 subjects, 30, 30, 30, and let's say 10 as a fourth, or 30, 30, 40. Now, each of the subjects that are there, what it happens is, first of all, that 30% that you are studying, you're going to be tested on that 30%. So you'll be doing that 30% only. And addition to that, each of the overlaps, for example, financial mathematics and business finance one, they have a good overlap between the subjects. So oftentimes it will happen that something that the FM or financial mathematics faculty teaches was covered in the business finance. So you get a good understanding of the overlap between subjects and concepts that eventually increases the level of understanding. So I won't say it becomes more difficult, but I also won't say it becomes more easy. It remains at par if you just talk about clearing papers per se.
Okay.
But conceptual clarity definitely is better.
Okay. And is there any entrance exam post 12th grade to
We'll
get
come
in?
to that. We'll come to that, Ami. I think I want to just
Fine.
discuss
Okay. Thank you
syllabus
so
for now
much.
so that
Yes.
we're on the same page. Yes, Abbas.
Hello.
Yes, Abbas. Tell me.
Is studying quant as good as studying actuarial science?
It's as rewarding. I'll talk about the trajectory as well. I think in that case, what I'll do is I'll proceed with the presentation first. I'll cover the rest of the part. It might answer some of your questions as well. And if we don't have any particular syllabus related doubt, let's proceed. And then in the FAQ part, I'll answer this one as well. And I'll take a case study to help you out. Cool. For any further questions, let's wait till the end of the presentation. Might as well you get the answers during that. I think not more than 5 minutes I'll take to complete the presentation. Then it's just FAQs and anecdotes from actually what's happening. Cool. Talking of IAQS, I'm assuming many of you would already know, but we are accredited by the IFOA. So there are two bodies, IA and IFOA. IFOA is the UK body, which majorly people. So there are more actuaries from IFOA than from IA because IFOA is firstly is the same syllabus. In fact, IA syllabus, it's mentioned that it is IFOA's material. So you use the same material. The only difference is IAI is the Indian body and IFOA is the UK body. But UK body is completely valid in India. Once you complete the degree, what you can do is you can take something called as MRA or Mutual Recognition Agreements Benefit, where as an actuary of UK, you can take an exemption, complete fellowship exemption in India, and there'll be absolutely no difference in your career trajectory. But how IFOA actually helps is because it has more tie-ups of MRA with more countries. For example, if you've done your actuarial science from IFOA, you get an MRA from India as well as the US. But if you have done the actuarial degree from India, then you just get an MRA from UK, not USA. So UK being one of the most oldest actuarial institute has more number of MRAs, and it is comparatively slightly easier to clear papers from IFOS. Reason being, India is a little bit academically heavy. I'll talk about MSc as well. Let me give to the end of this. MRA is Mutual Recognition Agreement. So the two institutes says that we offer the same level of quality. Why does a student have to go through the same papers again if he wants to just change the geography? So they say that if they have cleared exemption or if they've gotten fellowship from you, I'll recognize that member as a equally qualified member of ours, and I'll give him fellowship as well without giving any papers. That's what is MRA. Cool. That's one. The second thing of how an institute, especially IQS, helps is because of the international tie-ups. So we are currently tied up with three major universities: ANU in Australia, Harriet Wharton Bayes in the UK. Harriet Wharton Bayes happens to be two of the three universities which offers higher paper exemption as well. So globally, there are only three universities, all of them in the UK, which offer higher paper exemption, which are CP1 to CP3 and SP series as well. So for someone, a lot of students have shown interest, wants to clear the rest of the papers as well, or wants to move to the UK for their future career or XYZ reason. Having a tie-up helps them to directly route it because these are one of the top universities. As I said, there are only three universities that are there. So being a part of IQS, if you are there and if you meet the required criteria, there's no seat restriction per se. You'll get a direct admission to either of the three institutes. That's how direct transfer helps. And we're planning to add another university in the US as well, but that's of the future. Currently, we are tied up with three, and that's how international tie-up per se helps. And of course, there's also student exchange, faculty exchange, research level collaboration that keeps on going. But that's about the international tie-ups. Now, talking of eligibility, so there was one question that was asked. I'll answer this question particularly not from IAQS's eligibility criteria, but eligibility to become an actuary per se, or whether you want to or you should pursue actuarial science or not. So you need to first have a 10+2 degree. It can be from commerce, science, arts, anywhere, but you just need to have a 10+2 degree. Along with that, to work in India, especially, you need a bachelor's degree. So these are the two requirements. But from eligibility perspective, you need to have certain level of technical understanding. So someone had asked a question of what is the level of maths required. What we do, or what IA usually used to do, is they used to conduct a test called ASET. We conduct a test called quantitative aptitude test. The idea is we want to test whether you have the required level of mathematics and statistics to enter the program or not. It covers majorly just the 11th and 12th level mathematics, stats, and English, but it gives us an idea of whether you should actually pursue this profession or not. You might be very good. It does not mean that it's the test of your aptitude. It just tries to understand whether you have an inclination towards mathematics and statistics that is about to come. So we take an entrance test, which is QAT. It's a 2-hour online proctor-based test about math and statistics. If you clear that exam, then we get a confidence that you are fit for the program. Basis that, we then take a personal interview. So oftentimes what happens is people get swayed away by the numbers that are there, as in the salary that you get or the placements that you get. People get swayed away by that and enter the profession. What we do is, at a personal interview, we would try to eliminate any student who's just come there for numbers, but we want those who would actually sail through the entire profession. We try to see majorly their communication skills, whether they'll be culturally fit for the program or not, whether they'll be able to adapt to the entire environment or not, because it gets heavy. It's not very easy. There's a reason why it is rewarding. And then, of course, we test some bit of technical skills again through answering. So that's what personal interview is. Do we have to give ASET and QAT both? So if there's an exemption criteria for QAT, there's no exemption for personal interview. But if you've cleared any actual paper or any professional exam or any entrance test ASET, then you get an exemption from QAT, because we test the same thing. So if you've done it outside, then that's completely fine. So that's the eligibility criteria. Now, even if you want to think of the eligibility criteria for you, if you want to pursue actuarial science or not, it should be first 10+2. Second, do you have certain level of mathematics and statistics? And third, are you doing it just for the sake of earning money, or are you actually interested in the subject? So these are the general criteria that we have. The interview also is digital. So the entire process that we follow is completely digital. Now that's about the eligibility criteria, and then we come to FAQs. Now what I'll do is I'll first quickly take up the common FAQs that have come up as a part of the registration that was floated out. Once we answer that, we'll take up all the questions that we have. I'll try to answer each of them with all the possible anecdotes in my career that I've seen. Let's start with how to start actuaries. There's no right time. Majorly 70% of students start right after 12th in their graduation. A lot of them take up masters. So now a lot more people are taking up actuarial science after their bachelors, because now the awareness has started to increase. So by the second or third year, people start to or come to know about actuarial science, and they end up picking up the profession. Hence, we've seen a lot of interest, especially in the master's route. We've also seen people doing actuarial science after their MBA. In fact, FMS, which is one of the best institutes for MBA, 2 of their fellows are an actuary, and we have been fortunate to work with both of them. In fact, one of them are a part of our advisory board. His name is, I think he's the ICICI, he was the ICICI Lombard's appointed actuary. Can't recall his name. Let me just check. Just a second. I'll just confirm the name as well for you all. JV sir, yes. So JV sir was the appointed actuary of ICICI Lombard. He was an FMS alumni, and then he started pursuing actual science. So when to start or how to start? I think when to start answers that. How to start is either you go for a master's or bachelor's route through accredited university, or you directly give papers separately. Both of them are completely valid. It has its own pros and cons, which we discussed, route 1 and route 2. Particularly for masters, if you feel that you started actual science late, then masters kind of speed track the entire process. So we cover in masters 10 actuarial papers in just 2 years. So, and of which 6 are currently getting exemptions, and we are in talks for CP1 as well. So it kind of speedens the entire process if you're looking at masters. But that's how to start actuaries, the two different routes that we talked about. The level of difficulty of this course, the most subjective question that I can answer. So whether it's extremely difficult can easily be known by the level of entrance test that is there. The reason that you see very less actuaries is not because it is difficult, but because you easily lose out steam. What happens is, after 6-7 papers that you clear, after you're done graduating, you start working directly with the company, and it's a handsomely paid job. Like, for example, at our institute, the average placement of student is somewhere around 8 to 10 lakhs, and median is somewhere around 10, highest being 13, 14 as well. So even at clearing 6-7 papers as a fresher, you can expect a decent sum of money. And as you work, you keep on growing as well. So by the time that people become associate, they get a very decent package, and hence they become complacent of the fact that you still need to clear papers. Plus, it's not a part-time job; it's a full-time job. So you have to maintain studies as well as job. That's the reason people find it difficult, or people don't complete actually, is because they get sucked up in their work and don't give required time. You just need maybe 1 or 2 hours a day to study for your paper. That is sufficient. And that being said, you will have setbacks. It's not like you clear all the papers, because the paper is a professional paper. It's more about your awareness than the conceptual, like the textbook that is there. The later on papers are more about conceptual awareness, what's happening in the industry, all those things. So people perceive it to be difficult because, one, less number of people know about it. Two, it's a lengthy process and it has to be done along with your job. So it's a course which requires determination and persistence more than difficulty. The third most commonly asked question is, do I need fast maths calculation? No, you have calculators, you have Excel. It's not an abacus competition. It's just that you need to be able to visualize things good. You need to understand how things move. That's all. What can we do after a PG in finance or postgraduate degree if you have? One is either you directly start working. Two is you take certification, you end up in entrepreneurship. Or I would personally say the best way is to start working and then explore where your work takes you. That's a PG in finance. And I'm talking about finance if you take finance in the mathematical level. So CFA, FRM, Actuarial Science, these are courses which would require some level of mathematics. The pure finance one, where let's say IM plus IIT's combination also go. Where would these careers be affected by actually? I think this was one of the questions. And in fact, I actually asked this question of whether actuarial science as a profession will be affected by AI or not. I asked this to ChatGPT, and I got a very beautiful response. I think I'm going to publish it if it's not already published. So the response that we got is that what AI is going to do is it's going to help you do the routine task. Let's say cleaning of data, having a basic report, all those things might be done. But the final decision or the onus of that decision is always going to be on a person only. To give you an example, everyone knows, it's a very common thing, that once you start working, you'll get trained and you'll eventually be able to do the work. Then why are professionals needed? Why do we have degrees like CA, actuaries, CFA? Why do we need someone with a professional degree holder? That's because of the word called responsibility. See, when a client asks you a question, he's not just asking you a question. He's asking your experience, your company's experience, and your professional degree's opinion. So there's a certain level of responsibility that you kind of bring to the table, and you are answerable to that. Hence, talking of AI will do a lot of mundane work, but the eventual decision making, the eventual comprehension of whatever is given to you, the application of context is always going to remain there. So what would happen is what I feel. I can be wrong, of course. As I told you, I don't know things with certainty, but what we see or what I see would happen is that because of AI, a lot of mundane tasks gets cut. There'll be some job cuts as well. As a result, there'll be cost benefit to the company. So the company will be able to make more money because they'll have to spend less on human resource. Hence, they free up their budget. Looking at this, more companies will definitely open up. That's what we learn in economics, right? Demand and supply tries to match each other. When more companies come up, the mundane task is still going to be done by AI, but the quality work will improve. So you'll have to adopt to using AI and keep on working towards the quality work. That's what I feel is going to happen with AI. So whether the career is going to be affected by AI, I feel it is going to be affected in a positive way. Whether by recession it will be affected, I think no. Reason being the liabilities of specifically the insurance company, which happens to be the biggest employer, is very long, and it's much longer than the institutional cycle that is there or recession cycle that is there. So you'll easily live through the recession irrespective of which time you become actuary, because the quality talent, the required supply is already very less. So I don't see recession as a problem. How can we start a business after this course? I think the easy way that I told you about is the only way to start a business is actually to do a business. And how this course help you is, one, to understand and analyze a particular risk or a business better, and two, to help you get connected to good people, because your degree will speak for yourself. So it'll be easier for you to find appointments. How does it compare to CFA and FRM? Now, when I say it, I'll compare it with actuarial science. See, actuarial science is a little bit more niche, requires more papers, hence it's a little bit more elite, so to say. Like, there's less competition in actuarial science than CFA, FRM. But CFA, FRM are roles if you're interested in the investment and banking side. Actuarial is the role if you're more interested in the risk side and prediction side. So that's how I would make a basic comparison. It's not too different, I would say, because as a part of the curriculum, we have tried to combine the two in the same. So we have students who ended up clearing first level of CFA without any additional tuition as a part of the curriculum itself, which is a testament that the content is very similar. It's just that when you move towards specialization, when you move towards the third year, you start seeing a little bit of changes here and there. So that's what I would say about how does it compare to CFA and FRM. Okay, that being said, I have come to the end of the presentation and I'll be open to all the questions that I can answer. So I think we have 30 minutes. Let's use it to ask any question you want. Let's start with Ami. Let's raise our hands and then speak it up. So that would be more fun. Let's start with Ami. Yeah, I think we have Ami, then Hiranshi, Shlok, and Daksh. This is the current line. Cool. Ami, if you could ask the question. You there, Ami? Is MSc affordable in that institution? Ami, I'll answer this, Srilakshmi. I'll just want to confirm if Ami is there. Okay, I'm assuming she does not have a question. Hiranshi, you can go ahead.
Sir, please repeat about CFA and FRM. I missed it.
So CFA and FRM has a very similar syllabus, just that CFA and FRM are more towards quantitative side of things and investment side of things. So if you're interested more in investment, then quantitative finance becomes a better situation, because actuarial science not just takes asset side and investment side, it also deals with liability and risk. So it's like actuarial is a little bit more difficult than CFA and FRM. So if your intention is just to be in this field, then CFA and FRM in banking helps. The only difference is CFA and FRM competition is much higher because a lot of people do it. Actuaries competition is low, so you enjoy the demand supply gap. Shlok.
And sir, I want to ask that.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if I come to Mumbai, I complete my BSc. Is it necessary for me to complete MSc and then go ahead, or I can directly
The
start
MSc
my job?
programs are not for our BSc students. Our MSc programs are specifically for those who are joining the master's program a little late, as in joining the actual course a little late. So let's say you've come to know about the profession a little late, you've not gotten the right opportunity in employment, or you've not been able to clear papers. That's when you should choose our MSc program. It's 70-80% the program of BSc and MSc is the same, just that the time is different. So it's just BSc. Yes, for sure. So I'll lower your hand, Hiranshi. Let's go with Shlok. Shlok is next in line.
Yeah, so good evening, sir.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask that is there BSc in Actuarial Science available in the institute?
BSc in Actual Science, yeah, we offer the program that we offer is BSc in Actual Science and Confidence. So it's a same program that we talked about.
So BSc in Stats and Actuarial Science is the same thing, right?
No. BSc in Stats is different. We offer BSc in Actuarial Science and Quant Finance.
Oh, so which is better according to you?
See, if your intention is to do research, then BSc in Statistics is better. If your intention is
Okay.
to get a career in finance, if you want to explore either Actuarial Science or Quant Finance, then I can write it on pen and paper that the opportunities that this course give you is going to be 10 times more. Like I can actually write it on paper. I
So
should not, but I can easily boost my placement and internship numbers very easily. Like we were today itself comparing it with actual IITs and IIMs for that matter. Like let's say let's not talk about IIM maybe, but we have currently way better placement than IITs. That being said,
oh,
IIT already have a much bigger filter if you think of it honestly. Like JEE is way more competitive than our QAT, right? And
yeah,
still
yeah.
we offer better placement. So I can easily vouch for it. But if your intention is to go for research, then BSc Statistics is better.
Okay, okay. And one more
Yeah.
thing, apart from working as an actuary, can I pursue law in Actuarial Science?
Law.
Yeah, law in Actuarial Science.
Law is very different. See, there's a person who actually ended up after actually working in uh, legal tech, but he is not helping them as a lawyer. So if your intention is to get into law, it's two different fields. I think it's
No,
not
I'm just exploring. Like my main intention is actuary, but like,
completely different industries. It won't help you. I
oh,
won't suggest to, even irrespective of where you go, I won't suggest you to take both the things together. It's completely different.
okay. Thank you
By the
so much.
way, it's expected that 40% of the legal work is going to be replaced by AI. So AI. So be aware of where you are going in legal. Like there are a lot of things in legal as well. So just ensure that you are up with your tech as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Daksh, you are up next.
Yes, sir. So I have two questions. So the first one is that will this course give a broad understanding in data science as well? As I had put,
The course has three pillars. Daksh. Okay, you can go ahead with the second part of the question as well. I'll answer that.
yeah. So will it open up to job opportunities in data science field as well?
So the course has three pillars: actual science, quant finance, and data science. Data science we did not talk about separately, or we don't have any separation because it's a part of the curriculum itself. So when you learn statistics, when you learn R, when you learn Python, you are already learning 70-80% of the data science requirements. Currently, 10% of students actually end up in data science as well, but that is not something that we really need to separately work for. So if you think of it as a funnel, let's say when you're in 10th, you're learning things broadly, then you funnel it down to choosing between science and commerce, then you further funnel it down to which course that you want to go for: actual science, quant finance, legal, or any of data science, all those things. Now data science, so if you were to look at this funnel, actual science sits at one of the bottom, or quant finance, all these are the bottom of the funnel, like super specialized. Data science is more broad. So it's like you already covered data science's element, and then you've done something more niche than data science. So as an actually, I have worked with a lot of data scientists, but they would never take the decision. I would take the decision. So what I used to do is I used to know the data science related skills, but I did not actually spend putting my time in the data science side of work. So the course will set you up for it, but you don't really, like, you have a better option than just data science. It's very easy to move to data science from actual science. Very easy.
all right, sir. Sir, and if I do my UG from this institution,
Mhm.
can I go to like UK and continue giving the papers in an institution in UK?
Yeah. So it's a part of the tie-up.
All right.
Cool. Next up is WebOff.
Good evening, sir. The BSc Actuarial Science the personal interview round was non-technical, right?
So
So what
it's
about MSc
majorly
Actuarial?
non-technical. We try to test whether you will be culturally fit or not, as in whether you'll be able to gel in with the class batchmates or not, whether we will be able to put you in placements or not. How are you reacting to a such situation? So let's say I ask you a question. How are you actually responding to that question? How are you able to think through it? There's a good chance you might not know it, but how do you try to attempt it? These are the things, and then of course there's 10-15% element of technical as well. But
But
majorly it is more about understanding your thought process.
what's my doubt is MSc Actuarial Science interview also like this, or it will be
Pretty
technical?
much the same. Pretty much the same.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
I'll quickly brief on MSc as well towards the end
Okay, sir. Thanks a
about
lot.
the curriculum and process. It's pretty much the same. It's 90% same, 10% different because it is specialized. Cool. Next is Vansh. Okay, Vansh, I think is not available. Alia, if you can go next.
Hey, hi, Aman. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, so I'm one of those people who got to know about this course pretty late. So I've already completed my bachelor's and I'm a working professional right now in a completely different department. So how do you think I should approach this? One factor here is key. It's not easy for me to resign from my current job. So do you think I should go through the direct papers, or how will the degree support me while I
I think
work
it's
as well?
yeah. I'll give you a very brief answer, but that won't suffice your concern. I think we'll have to sit
Mm-hmm.
separately on a call for this. But just to give you a brief understanding,
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
you are geography, like if you feel that you don't want to leave your job and you still want to give it a try, then give the paper separately. If you feel you are committed to the profession, then you choose the institute route where you go to an institute and aim for exemptions. So what exemptions
Okay.
do is it is
Just one
speeding
minute,
the
Aman.
process.
I think I lost you. Aman, I lost you at the very first part. Can you please go ahead?
So I'm saying that if you feel that you really don't want to leave your job and you're not certain of whether you want
Mm-hmm.
to pursue actual science or not, you just want to give it a try,
Mm-hmm.
basically. If that is
Mm-hmm.
the case, then give the
Mm-hmm.
papers independently. But if you're certain that
Okay.
you've done your research, it is something that is of interest to you, and you want to give 100%, then masters will
Mm-hmm.
make more sense because you'll be able to speed in the entire process. So instead of maybe 10 years, you will take just 5 years to reach your goals. So it will give you a
Okay.
long-term benefit then. But yes, if you are
Mm-hmm.
certain, only then you should leave a job and go for masters. Else, if you just want to try, then why not give a couple of papers? No harm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Abbas, you're up next.
Sir, even I had two questions. First one was that if after attempting about 3 to 4 papers and almost completing BSc exams, I think that this course is like really hard for me. So can I what else can I change to? Like what are
Okay.
the other career
So
paths?
So currently, there's something since last year, Maharashtra has adopted something called as New Education Policy (NEP), where you can go from one college to another at any point of time as long as you are able to meet their entrance requirement. So let's say you choose to go to media, for example. You've done 2 years here. You realize that you don't want to be in finance. You want to go to media. You can apply for BMM if you meet their whatever requirement there is. So there's something when you start registering with the University of Mumbai, you'll have to make something called as ABC or Academic Bank of Credit. There, for each of the semesters, credits get stored. You can use that credit to move to any other program. So that's the extreme route. And if you feel, let's say, you want to stay in finance, then our path is actuarial or quant. So if you feel you want to go towards finance investment side, you pick quant. But if you completely want to change it, you can go for any other college through ABC.
All right. And so second question, I
Yeah.
just passed out 10th. So what are the subjects for 11th and 12th college? So should I take science or should I continue with economics? I've completed 10th with
It's up to
science,
you. There's no right, very honestly, there's no right option. So as I said,
but
science has its own advantage, commerce has its own advantage.
I've completed 10th with science. So will science help?
It won't be a disadvantage is what I'll say. I won't say whether one will be advantage over or not. It won't be a disadvantage. So whichever subjects you enjoy studying, you go for that.
All right. So thank you.
Hi,
Harsh, you're
it
up
was a
next.
wonderful session, by the way. I have two questions.
Thank you.
First, how many students do clear the complete course? And yeah, you can go with first question of mine first.
So there are two elements. I think you're asked, are you talking about completing the course as in getting the BSc in actual
Yes,
science and quant
yes,
finance
yes,
degree?
right.
90%.
Okay, great. And second question was, in case there are few students who are able to just clear few like exams, will the pay increase with the exams? Like you give the exam, the pay increases, right?
Yes, paper linked incentive is
Yeah.
there in all
Yeah, and
companies.
one last question from my side is, as you said, in the third semester, in the third year, you'll be choosing the electives, quants and actuals. Can you just, I just missed the connection that time. Can you just give me a short idea about it?
So let's say you realize that actual science is not something you are gravitating towards, be it because of your internship experience, your uh, subject experience, paper clearing experience, whatever reasons. You can, or you feel that you are more interested towards risk advisory, banking side, or investment side, algorithm trading types. Then you go for quantitative finance. So you either go for actual science. Actual is more heavy on risk and liability. Quant is just asset. So quant is comparatively a little easy because paper per se is not there. So actuarial's 13 papers that we are talking of, that you might not have to give.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah. Thanks a
That's
lot. Yes, thank you.
yeah, no worries. Samir, you're up next.
Okay, Someone, thank you. Great expose. My question is now my daughter, she's in 12th exams next year in March. So now could you just tell us the timelines and the time plan? When does the course start at your end and when the students should take the QAT and basically the timelines?
I'd suggest give QAT as soon as possible because when you're done with your papers, call board exams, you are in better mindset or you're in the rhythm to solve questions. So give QAT immediately. The window is open for another month entirely. It's available every Wednesdays. You can reach out to the counselor and understand the process better for in any sense. That's for QAT. From academic perspective, the year starts somewhere towards the end of July. So once your QAT is done, then there's personal interview, then there's legal documentation from the University of Mumbai perspective. Everything takes a decent amount of time. So by the end of the month or earlier the possible for QAT, and then go for the personal interview at your own pace.
So generally, as I take it, QAT, we can give it as soon as possible. There's a window for the next 1 month, as you are saying, and that crossed, the personal interview will take place by say what, August, September or something.
First year
Ani,
exams.
What I want to ask is like today we are in April. In the next 1 month, she takes the QAT, and okay, fine. We are hopeful of her passing, and so now the next thing is the interview. So when does that come up generally?
Interview. So after 1 or 2 days, your QAT results will be out. You can
Okay.
choose a window. So it's an online interview itself. It's
Okay.
based on the Google Meet. Once you clear the exam, you'll get a link to register for your personal interview.
Okay.
The slots are available to you. So it's usually Tuesdays and Fridays. You can select one of the available slots. So whichever one is available, you can select.
Okay, fine. So that you say is an ongoing process which will keep on going on.
Correct.
So at some point of time, and let's face it that, okay, fine, you are accepted for the course. So that particular documentation and all that thing, that starts after the 12th class boards next year. Before July, before July, of course. Huh?
Correct.
Okay, fine. And the QAT, like you said, is just for 1 month or it can be taken anytime? I'm sorry.
2.5 months roughly.
Okay,
Or
so the
more than
next,
that, actually. 3 months. It's March, April, May.
okay,
Somewhere
March.
towards mid of March, we start. Goes
Okay,
on till April and May.
okay, okay. And generally now, so you are saying that the syllabus for the QAT is 11th and 12th. So okay, fine, she's done with her 11th, and the number of QATs, of course, she can take any number of attempts.
3. I would suggest if she's not able to clear in 2, we discuss of whether it's the right fit or not. She can give till 3, but after 2, I would usually
You got
say
it,
that
man.
let's sit
That of
together.
course. That of course. So because we were just seeing, and what are the pros and cons of taking the QAT just now while she's in 12th, or maybe sometime in March or so when she's just
Don't wait for the 12th to be done.
fine. Got a point. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. Radhika, you're up next. Radhika, you're there? Okay. Assuming you're not there, Daksh, you
Hi,
can
sir.
go next. Okay, Radhika is there. Yeah, yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry.
No,
I had broken the connection had broken. So my
no.
question was, sir, I have completed my bachelor's in pharmacy. Okay,
Okay,
and I wanted to integrate with the finance field, and that's why I found this field to be very interesting. And so I had approached IAQS for the master's program. So
okay.
my question was, like, from your experience, would I, as a pharmacy background student, have any advantage over others in this particular field, or will it be just, like, how others are going through it? It will be the same journey for me.
Your personal experiences might give you a bit of maturity, which will help you to get a grasp of concepts better. But
Okay.
it's your personal experience. The degree in pharmacy is not going to help you.
All right. I understood. I understood.
It's more of the level of maturity. So let's say, as I said, there are people who, after their FMS MBA degree, pursued actuarial science. Their level of maturity was very high, and they were able to clear papers very quickly. So that's how it'll help.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
No worries. Daksh, you're up next.
Yes, sir. Sir, if we clear the QAT, would it be necessary to give the ACET as well?
If you clear QAT, then if you want to go for IAIS exams, no, ASET is going to be removed anyways. No, it's not necessary.
So, after you clear QAT, you can easily apply, give the exams for the UK institution.
You don't even need QAT for UK exams. You're talking about IAQS or UK?
Eh, IAQS, IAQS.
For IAQS basis QAT, you get the admission. Once you are in the college, you don't have to give exams separately with IFOA for 3 years. You just aim for exemptions. You don't even have to take the
Okay, so
membership for 3 years.
after, if we get into IAQS, you don't need to give the entrance for IAI.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. Loki, you next. Loki, you're there. Okay, I'll go to Akshat then. Akshat.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the fee structure because I couldn't find that anywhere.
Okay, I think our counselor is also there. She'll also reach out to you, or you can just put the number. But to give you a broad context to the audience, we charge somewhere around 2,30,000 per year, which is split into 4 installments. So let's say 55, 60 random roughly per installment. That's for 1 year. So 230, 230, 230. There's a scholarship. So there are two scholarships. In fact, there's IFOS scholarship and there's IAQS scholarship, but the scholarship is currently need based. And there's, of course, loan facilities available. So that answers. I'll.
Sir, can I ask?
Yeah, Loki, yes, you can ask. I think you
Yeah,
missed.
so I wanted to know what is the last date to apply this year, 2024, the last date to apply for the course?
So the dates will be out once University of Mumbai guidelines are out, which will happen somewhere in the mid of May because results are expected then. But you can expect this to be somewhere towards the end of May or beginning of June.
That'll be the last day to apply.
Correct, correct. But I would still suggest at least give QAT and get done with the mathematics part of it,
Okay.
irrespective of whether you want to or not. Like anyways, like the entire process till you finally submit the document is all very basic nominal amount of tokens or refundable for most part of it. So at least it's better to be sure than sorry. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no worries. Shravani, if you could go next.
So what will be the passing marks for QAT?
50%.
50. And as calculus is the important subject, does it
It
plays
is
an
important.
important role?
It is important. Calculus is tested in the program.
And throughout the course, does it plays an important role?
20% of mathematics involves calculus. So 20% of mathematics makes about 10% of the program. 7 to 8%, let's say 7 to 8% of a program will involve calculus, if not more. That's the bracket. Yeah. So you can take a call accordingly. Aishwarya, if you could go next. If Aishwarya is not there, let's take Ashutosh. Ashutosh. You there?
Hello.
Okay, Aishwarya is there. Yes, Aishwarya.
Yes, sorry, my net got broken. I have
No.
quite a few questions. First one being, when does the course start this year?
Somewhere towards the end, mid of July, mid or a little before that.
Okay. Secondly, what would you say is the percentage in which students who get through the bachelor program get exempted from the actuarial
Okay,
exams?
so a little complex. If you were to, let's say, take the number of students who get all the exemptions, those who choose actuarial only get all the exemptions. So you have about 25% of students who get all paper exemption, all six, but roughly 60% would get at least one to maybe four paper exemptions. 60, 65. So it's the if you statistically compare the number, it's probably slightly higher than IFOA and very higher than IA, but it's only slightly higher than IFOA, not astronomically high. So I will still say it's not a mechanism to clear paper easily. It's more of the experience and exposure and opportunity that you get.
Okay. So you told that there are two scholarships for need-based scholarship, which is IAQS and offered by FOA. Is it applicable for international students?
The IFOA scholarship can be, you have to put an application, but standard is not. The IAQS scholarship is not for international students because the process for international students happens through government portal of Government of India. So it has a completely different route. So we just give a confirmation of whether the candidature is suitable or not. Rest everything happens from them. So even the fees for that matter is a little higher for international student, but that's again, it's not something that is in our control. It's because you will be interacting with a different portal if you come to India. So you'll be dealing with government portal than us for admission process.
Okay, I've finished the QATs and I've also finished the personal interview. And currently I'm talking with the Mumbai admissions to get myself eligible. So the problem here is whenever I speak to the IAQS University regarding this, they told me that the course date starts in June 2nd. Is there a
June
reason?
2nd.
Yes, I keep getting June 2nd. I'm working on that timeline, so I
June
would like to
2nd,
know
it
why
won't
that
start.
is.
It won't be June 2nd. July, beginning of July, maybe. June 2nd is difficult.
Okay.
I think I'll still patch you, like just keep in touch with the counselor and overall you'll be able to figure out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Ashutosh, I think you've been
Good
raising
evening,
your hand.
sir. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Sir, I wanted to ask, how are we supposed to prepare for the interview? Like, I'm interested in the MSc program. Um, I have registered for the same. I just don't know what all should we prepare for the personal interview.
So from personal interview perspective, brush up upon whatever is your existing skill sets, a bit of calculus maybe, and the personal interview is not something that you really need to prepare for other than, let's say, some technical aspect, because it's more of understanding how are you able to think on your feet. Let's say I just talked about, let's say, the geopolitical tension between Iran and Israel. How is it going to affect the US Fed rate? So all the way there. So you might not know it, but how do you respond to that question? That's what is tested more.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
And
Do
sir,
we
can you
have any
about the MSc program?
Sorry?
Can you please brief about the MSc program too?
So the MSc program does not have the quantitative element. It's MSc in Actuarial Science. In 2 years, you cover 10 actuarial papers, some bit of software skills that is needed, and you'll also cover some bit of soft skills that is needed from the perspective of getting yourself internship and placement. In these 2 years, you get 6 paper exemption. 1 paper is still under review, and 3 papers you won't get exemption, but you can give. So in the 2 years, sorry, not three, in the 2 years, you'll completely delve yourself into getting more and more papers. Your entire focus remains there. So the idea is that you clear a lot of papers very quickly and you directly get working, so that you make up for the time that you kind of running behind from 60% of the crowd. So let's say 60-70% जिन्होंने graduation में शुरू किया होगा, they are 2 years ahead of you technically. So them like using this 2 years, you try to cover the entire gap that is there. So that's MSc in a very nutshell. Otherwise, the delivery of the program is pretty much the same, other than the quantitative side of element. Everything else remains same. Yeah.
What about internship or stuff? I mean,
Pretty
have you-
similar. So after the second year, before your final placements, you are asked to do an internship, and post that there's placements.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem. Cool. I think if no one's raising their hand, I'll just quickly scan through the chat box. Yeah, Vansh, you've raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Vansh.
I actually missed out on questions last time. So my question is, if you're completing BSc in Actuarial Science, is it necessary to go ahead with MSc as well? Because you don't need to, right?
So our BSc program is not for our MSc program is not for our BSc students. I think I did answer this. What we cover in our MSc is 70-80% similar to what we cover in BSc already. So the MSc program is specifically for those who've come to know about actuarial science, maybe late in their profession, not able to clear papers earlier, or need a network, need more access and opportunity per se. If you've pursued BSc here, then you've already gotten all of that as a part.
Okay, so but I mean, in BSc we get an exemption of 6 papers,
Yes.
and we're learning about 9 papers. Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, to qualify for the other papers, other 7 papers, do we need to apply independently or?
You give papers separately. So the rest of the papers, how actuarial is split is there are 6 papers which are technical, pure technical, mathematics, statistics, economics, all those things. The rest of 6 papers, okay, there are 7, but 1 paper I don't count because it's very basic project based time pass paper. So the other 6 papers are more of work skill based. So there's one on analytics, there's one on modeling, there's one on communication. So if you remember, you used to write emails and letters, right? In 12th boards. There's a paper, CP3. It's not an easy paper, but it's just writing an email to a board of director. So you'll be given an actuarial model. How do you write that email? That decides the paper. So these are the kind of papers that you are then pursuing. Then there are a couple of specialization papers where all the technical skills that you've learned, you mingle that with the industry exposure that you are getting. That's how the rest of papers are designed. So those papers you only should give once you start working.
Okay, so I mean, working or internship after BSc is compulsory.
Working, though, of course, that's why you're eventually pursuing. But internship,
No,
there's
I mean,
3 months.
after getting 6 exemptions,
Yeah, you can start.
Should we go ahead with the completion of 13 papers, or?
Okay, so some students, some students have gone in specially. So if you want to probably, let's say, complete all the papers before SA7, the essay paper, that you can only give based on your experience. So for that, you'll have to work to clear. But rest of the papers, you can go for another exemption route. So let's say you go to Bayes or Harriet-Watt University. There are 2 students this year who are going to Bayes right after their BSc. They're doing masters there. There's a 1-year masters in MSc in Actuarial Management program where they'll get 6 paper exemption in 1 year. But both of them have done 7 months, 8 months of internship. So they already have some bit of exposure of how industry works. Plus that 1 year of actuarial management is supremely heavy. So it's in no sense very easy. So you can attempt that, but it's up to you. I don't think it's needed because anyways, you need 3 years of work experience to qualify as a fellow. So in 3 years, you can easily give 6 papers if you're working good and you're able to transfer that into papers.
Okay, and once you're done with this BSc in actuarial year with IIX, do we get an opportunity to go to UK with the IFO?
Yeah.
And complete the another set of papers there with them.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Cool. I'll quickly scan the chat box. I think there's a lot of question. If we complete MSc program in India, then further exemption, do we have to go for those foreign universities? I would suggest that you, once you've gotten exemptions from MSc at IQS, start working. and give the rest of the paper along with your job. You should be able to do that. I think that would be better. If you feel that you're not able to do that, then after 1 or 2 years, go for actual management program. That's a better way to approach. How to prepare along with the job? I think time will tell. It's not that difficult, but that's where network, that's where mentors help. You'll have to basically collaborate a lot with your peers. A lot of probably your managers will also be giving papers, so they'll help you. So don't think too ahead of your time from right away. Can we get a past question paper? Yes, once you register for QAT, you get to download the past papers from the website itself. Can you work in the UK after finishing BSc program? So there's one student in the last 5 years who've gotten an opportunity to work in the UK directly with PwC or EY, I don't remember, PwC, after her BSc program, but she was an exception. So you can, but you'll have to be very good. An easier way to go to the UK is either you do the BSc and go for masters, or you do the BSc, spend 1 or 2 years, and then develop your connection and work quality, and then you go there. So actuarial science is considered as a very specialized and very skillful resource. Hence, your possibility of getting a visa is a little easy comparatively. I hope that answers. Then you have Sakshi asking, sir, the meeting was abruptly disconnected on my side. Could you please take up this question? Can a CA student who will be starting with articleship get enrolled to the MSc program at IQS, given that they have to manage studies and assignments? If you continue to pursue CA, you won't be able to juggle between the two. You technically can, but Sakshi, you won't be able to juggle between the two. I would say you choose between CA or actuaries. That's my take. If we complete MSc program in India, then further exemption we have to. I think we answered that. Internship for MSc after second year. We do it after second year. So the first year we have tried to do it after first year itself, but we realized that because the program is so heavy, students were not able to manage studies along with their internship. So we decided that now onwards, after second year only, they do the internship. Please check the syllabus of it in the website. The trigonometry part. Trigonometry is not a part of UAT. UAT purely depends on 11, 12. What next? I think, is there any book particularly to refer? QAT 11, 12 is enough. I think that's the answer. What are the sources to prepare for further papers? Every time that you give register for the paper, you will be given study material that you use as a reference. Is there any reference book to prepare for QAT 11, 12 maths? I think it's covered. Please visit. How can I enter sports analytics after BSc program? So you won't have any additional moat, but your skills can be used. So you apply for companies that offer sports analytics programs. So let's say all the digital sports media company like Star or ESPN or Cricinfo, all these companies have sports analytics as job. You apply there, you show them the skills, and that's how you go. You can also go for probably some internships around. Hiranji, just give me 1 minute. I'll just quickly go through the other questions that are there, and then I'll take it up. Can I know roughly about the qualification of the teachers? So 70% of the faculties come from industry. So when I say industry, they are already working in the industry. They come here, take lectures, and go. The rest are full-time. Now, from qualification perspective, it's very diverse. You have actuaries, you have CAs, CFAs, FRMs, engineers, all sort of people who are a part of your faculty team, and of course, general academicians as well. When are the classes going to begin? Keep roughly somewhere towards the beginning of July, but University of Mumbai gives the guideline. So just once you complete the admission process, all the things would be taken care of by the counselor. Like, be in touch with the counselor and they'll be able to tell you all the things. For BSc timings are 11:30 to 5:30. Okay, any percentage cutoff, as long as you're able to clear it, there's no cutoff per se. You're just passing marks of 50%. College timings for BSc, she's already answered. Same one, the cutoff. I think I've kind of covered most of the questions. There are many more that I might miss. What we can do is, in case you have questions, I'll try to roll out a feedback form where you can put your questions and I'll answer those separately, or I'll also answer those questions in and put it up on Instagram. So you can follow us at IAQS Official. That's our Instagram handle, where we always continuously try to ask some of the other questions related to actuaries. And of course, I'll also then open up the FAQ part also. So you can ask me questions there itself. I'll probably try to do it more often now on. Further, as we are already towards the end of the meeting, for all those who have sticked till the end of the meeting, first of all, thank you for joining. Second, I'd love to have a feedback from you all, so I'll share a feedback form. Third, and more importantly, because of the fact that you've sticked around, I'm assuming you know a decent understanding of what is actuarial science now. So I would ask you all to maybe spread the word around what is the profession. I'm not talking about IAQs per se, but just the awareness of profession is extremely needed. So we've been working tirelessly with the government with this initiative of making the number of actuaries touch 25,000. This would require a lot of collaboration. So I would suggest meet more and more people, talk more and more about it. You might never know who you actually help and make a career of. I think that's my 2 cents. I'll just take last question by Hiranshi and then we'll wrap the session. Hiranshi, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, like I was asking about the subjects, the major subjects like mathematics, like we have now in 12th, PCM and English and otherwise that. So, what are the 3 subjects in 3 different years?
3 subjects in 3 different years. So there's always going to be a mix of everything. You'll study some bit of mathematics, some bit of statistics, some bit of economics, for example. So if you remember in the syllabus, there were 25-35% of each of the syllabus. So
Yes.
how we split it is not on the basis of one paper or one topic, but on the basis of how various things overlap one another. So let's say if certain concepts of CB1 is overlapping with certain concepts of CM1, it's been put in one particular semester. Similarly, what has also been taken care of is that your progression happens in such a way that you're able to kind of understand each of the elements of your entire study better. Like you're able to, let's say, progress from CB1 to CB2 to then applying CB1 and CB2 to CM2, all those things. So directly giving you a topic is a little difficult for me.
Okay,
Hope
thank
that
you, sir.
answers. Cool. I think with that, thank you once again to all of you for joining the meeting today. Hope you guys encourage others to learn about actuarial science per se. And in case you have more questions, you can always reach out to the counselor. The number is already given in the chat. Or you can reach out to iaqs.in, like go to iaqs.in, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Thank you guys. Have a great evening ahead. Bye.